Well, hello, IDS 105 students, and welcome to week 2 here in the IDS 105 learning community. I am Melanie Shop, your IDS 105 learning community gal, and I'm here to walk you through everything for week 2, module 2, what's due, where to find it, and how to submit your assignment successfully. First and foremost, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is so important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. Or you can email the OAC team at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. As a reminder, the OAC is a department, a team of SNHU employees that are here to help you get content in a way that works best for you. If you have questions about it, reach out to your advisor or reach out directly to the OAC. Couple of webinar reminders. This is an academic space, so always be mindful of your conduct. And these webinars are not graded or required, but you will learn about how to do assignments from week to week and or go over concepts that we are working on in your course. And hopefully it gives you a little bit of motivation and you have some fun too. So a couple of housekeeping reminders for week 2, module 2. First and foremost, y'all, make sure that you are always reading and reviewing your course announcements in any of your university classes. This is where your instructors will post helpful information, reminders, they might even break down content. It's just a really great space that you want to make sure that you are paying attention to what is being posted in your classrooms in those course announcements. Also, always make sure you're checking your SNHU university email because that is how the university communicates with you. And you want to make sure that you're staying on top of those communications. If you are stuck, if you're not sure on something, you have questions about something, email, call, text your faculty ASAP with those questions. You can find out how your faculty member or your instructor best communicates by checking out that My Instructor announcement in your course, underneath course announcements. It'll give you their contact information, phone, always email. Some faculty set up meetings, some text. It kind of just depends from instructor to instructor, but we want you to be successful, so please do not hesitate to reach out. We would rather help you and support your success than you be stuck or not turn something in. As a reminder, week 1 grades will come back in week 2 by Sunday. So just so you know that anything that is auto-graded will always grade right away once you submit it. However, things like discussions and projects and journals, faculty have to manually grade those, and so we have a whole week to grade them. Some faculty grade as things come in, some faculty grade throughout the week, some you might not see it until that Sunday night. So don't panic, but if you have questions, make sure you reach out to your instructor directly who's grading things in your classroom, okay? I wanted to remind you, you can check your grades by going to that course menu in your Brightspace class and click on grades. When you click on that, you're going to see a list of all the assignments, the points, the grade, and then any comments and assessments. I always encourage you to click once a grade has been graded, an assignment has been graded. Underneath comments and assessments, you'll see like a view comment or assessment, and you can click and view your instructor feedback for every line of the rubric. Okay? So this week, you're going to be focusing in and submitting your very first project draft, project part 1. You will want to make sure you have Microsoft Word or PDF or something compatible. You can get that for free, Office 365 for free as an SNHU student. You can find it in your Brightspace classroom underneath Online Student Services, and I'll show you before we get done today too. As a reminder, video note submissions are not permitted for your project drafts or for your project, okay? With this project, you are choosing one scenario to focus on all term long, and certain weeks you're going to be answering questions based off of that one scenario. We're going to talk more about it, but I just want you to know you're going to pick one scenario, and it's going to help you answer questions multiple weeks and modules of your term. The project just kind of builds off of each other, and it's like connecting the dots all at the end. So you have your project, which is due Sunday of week 2, module 2, and you also have a warm-up assignment, which is due by Sunday. Both of those you can work on earlier as convenient for your schedule, but they are due by Sunday. Remember, with that warm-up assignment, you do get multiple attempts. It's like an open book quiz. So review the course content within your module, review any reading assignments, and then go ahead and take that warm-up. And you can take it multiple times. That's one of those assignments that auto-grade. So as soon as you submit it, you can go to your grade book and see what you got. And if you want to retake it or add points, you can do that as many times as you want to earn your best score. So here in week 2, module 2, we are going to be focusing in on the concept of social justice. So social justice as defined is the concept in which equity or justice is achieved in every aspect of society rather than in only some aspects or for some people, and affords individuals and groups fair treatment. So I like this image. I think this is a great image to kind of look at and see, like, okay, what is social justice and how does that impact me, or what do I know about it? With social justice comes 5 core principles, okay? They are listed right here for you. Access to resources, equity, participation, diversity, human rights. So the goal of social justice is that everybody has the same thing, right? Out of these 5. So as you are learning more about social justice this week, we're going to be talking a lot about perceptions, how we were raised, how we grew up, how it may have shaped some of our beliefs and our behaviors. And so things for you to think about, like, for example, are like, how have experiences in your life impacted what you think and your perceptions or your beliefs and your behaviors? And have any of your values or experiences you had maybe led you to view people from different cultures accurately or maybe with some bias? And then what are some symbols that have become kind of cultural norms for you, or do you not know a lot about other cultures? Some of us might have a lot of experience with diversity, and some of us might have zero, and others might be right in between. So the thing here is to meet yourself where you are. As you work on the assignments and you go over the concepts this week, be true to who you are. Always make sure we are kind, always make sure that we are respectful, but we might have some uncomfortable conversations, or we might learn from others that are very different from what we believe or what we see as right or what we see as fair. The biggest thing is we are going to learn in this class how to be able to interact with each other when we may have very different beliefs and very different backgrounds. So remember, last week we talked about those social identities, like how we identify like who we are and what we do and like the stories that we bring. So as you navigate some of these thoughts this week, really kind of take a minute and discover a little bit more about yourself. Okay. So this week, in addition to the discussion, this week, when you are working through your project, you want to make sure that you choose a scenario. So there's 4 scenarios, y'all. There's a school scenario, which is right here. I'm not going to read through it, but this is going to be a scenario that talks about life and experiences in a school setting. You're going to have a personal setting. This is going to be about family, and it's going to be about disagreeing with family. You find yourself on different ends of the field in regards to whatever it might be, any kind of debate or cultures or identities. It could be politics, it could be all the things, right? So you have a school scenario, you have a personal scenario, you have a workplace scenario, and then you have a create your own scenario. So for this project, you are going to be working on the very first part, which is part 1. You will pick one of these scenarios and you'll use it all term long. Now, if you're somebody that wants to get creative and make your own, that's completely fine. Your scenario just has to be able to have the details and show the importance of social justice principles in a specific setting with diverse people. So some examples you could think about is maybe a community organization. You could think about life experiences that you have had, but there also has to be kind of a conflict in your scenario. So you're kind of like creating your own story. It's really important, if you choose this create your own option, you have to include a detailed description of your scenario when you turn in your project template. So when we get to the template, I'll show you here in a minute, you're going to see there's a spot for your scenario. If you choose one of them that are school, personal, or work that are already created, you just put school, personal, work. But if you are creating your own, you're going to need to write a little blurb similar to what you see for school, workplace, or personal that is going to showcase the details of your scenario, okay? You do not have to send this scenario to your instructor to approve it before you answer the questions. However, when you create this scenario and you answer the questions based off of that, your faculty member or instructor, when they get it and they go to grade it, may have you redo some things or may need some more details. So don't be surprised if that happens, but you don't have to ask for approval ahead of time. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that that was really clear with your scenario. So with this project, again, you are going to pick a scenario. So we saw that we had school, workplace, personal, or create your own, right? Underneath the project guidelines in your class, and I will show you this. You're going to see this what to submit area where the project template is. That means you're going to open up this Microsoft Word document and you're going to type right in it. Okay. And then you're going to see the supporting materials area, which the supporting materials area is going to have that scenario document. Okay. I wanted to show you just really quickly when we go into your classroom space underneath module 2, when you get to that, so you have your warm up and you have your project part 1 draft. When you click on guidelines and rubric, it's going to pull up the overview for your project, okay? And it's going to remind you of the questions you're answering. If you click the blue on this project template, it's going to open up a document that looks like this. The highlights are mine, okay? The highlights are mine. You will not see them on yours. But for week 2, you'll notice that you're only answering the questions underneath part 1. So this is the social justice section. It says complete this section in module 2. What I wanted to remind you is you'll see identify your chosen scenario. This is where you want to put what you pick. So up here, I put school scenario. But if you're somebody that did that create your own scenario, you want to make sure that you have a paragraph with the details and information of your scenario, just like the school, personal, and workplace does right here. So your instructor knows all the details of what you're going to be using for the term. Okay. And then you're going to use that scenario to answer just these 4 questions under part 1. So you'll see that like part 1 says complete this section in module 2. And they're going to see part 2, complete this in module 3. So you are not filling out this entire document this first week. You're only answering part 1's question, which is these 4 questions. Okay. I just want to show that to you really quick. I also wanted to show you that you can also see the scenarios. If you scroll down to that project scenarios document, click the blue. It looks like this when you open it up. So you'll see you have school, the information and details personal, information and details workplace, information and details, and then you have this create your own. Again, if you choose to create your own option, you have to include a detailed description of the scenario in that project template. Think of the information that these have. You want to make sure yours models that. Okay. So I wanted to just kind of show you those things just really quick from the classroom perspective so you can get an idea of like how to find them in your classroom space. So for this week under project part 1's draft, it is all focusing in on social justice. Okay. So again, you're going to be answering these 4 questions. Now keep in mind that some of these questions have several pieces and parts. So make sure that you're taking your scenario, reviewing it, and then any maybe experiences you've had yourself, you can utilize that to help you answer the questions you're going to be responding to in addition to what you're reading this week, okay? So, for example, if I chose that school scenario, I would list school under this identify your chosen scenario, and you just type, whoops, it wanted to go fast. You just type right in here. So, thinking of the school scenario, I would need to explain the difference between justice, fairness, and equality as they apply in my school scenario. So I would need to look at my scenario and be like, okay, like where are the differences between these things in my scenario? And then you're going to answer question 2. How could bias impact social justice in my scenario that I picked? Question 3 is about different narratives circulating in society and how they can maybe impact your chosen scenario. And then question 4, explain the core principles of social justice in your chosen scenario. So remember, we have 5 of them, right? There's a chance that your scenario has all 5. So if it has all 5, you want to make sure that you share those and like why you think that. Some of your scenarios might not have all 5, but we need to have at least 2. So every scenario, you can at least pick out 2 of the core principles of social justice in those scenarios. So make sure if you create your own, you got to be able to remember that. You want to always explain at least 2 when it asks for things that are plural. Okay, so you'll see it says explain the core principles. Make sure you're picking at least 2. Some of you might have all 5. Some of you might have 3. Some of you might have 4, but always make sure you have at least 2. Okay, so just answering again that part 1 social justice. So as a reminder, here in week 2, module 2, no discussion assignment. You just have that project draft due by Sunday and you have that warm up due. With your project, you do have Office 365 for free, so you can utilize that Microsoft Word. You're picking one scenario. You're going to stick with it all term to have you answer those questions, okay? Really quick, I just want to remind you in the classroom space, I'm going to pop back in there really fast, is you can find this by going underneath course menu, learning modules, and when you do that, you want to go into module 2, click on module 2. Remember, you have that module 2 introduction that's going to Go over what is due this week, what's assigned, right? Always arrow over, scroll all the way down, arrow over. You have the reading that's within your module. As always, make sure that you're reviewing that content that's within your module, in addition to any of the required resources like textbook chapters you need to read, any extra videos or websites to visit. Make sure you're reviewing all of that content, okay? I know this is kind of a fast scroll, but I just wanted to remind you that that's where those things are. You do have that warm up. Remember, you can take it as many times as possible for your success, and it will auto grade. When you get to that project 2-2, project part 1, click on that guidelines and rubric. It opens up the whole document. It goes over an overview, directions. It lists the questions again you're answering. The blue gets you to where you want to go. So remember, project template, when you click on it, it's going to open a document like this. It will not have the highlights, but it allows you literally to just type right in here. See how I'm doing that? And you are only responsible here for week 2, module 2, this part 1. Okay? Just these 4 questions. Just make sure you have all pieces and parts. Remember, you have this project scenarios document. You click the blue and it's going to open up just like this. And it goes over all the scenarios. You just pick one, and that's what you're going to use all term long. Just make sure if you have create your own, you decide to do your own, that you have the pieces and parts that are necessary for your instructor to be able to approve that. Okay, you don't have to get approval ahead of time. You just have to be able to have all the pieces and information so they can review it. You can answer the questions, but they may come back and say, hey, I need a little bit more information on this, or hey, we're good to go. If you have questions, you can always reach out directly to your advisor, okay? The other thing I wanted just to remind you of is both of those things are due on Sundays. This is a great time to utilize the academic support team. You can click on academic support, pulls up their menu of services. A lot of students like to use the written feedback tool, which is where you could answer those questions for that part 1 of your draft. And then you can kind of upload and submit that draft to the Written Feedback Center. There'll be a little questionnaire that you can select the areas you want the tutor to focus on, and then you upload it and submit it, and then somebody gets back to you within 12 hours. Which is really pretty cool. They'll kind of make sure that you're on track with what you're talking about. They'll help you kind of review it from a grammatical standpoint. There's a lot of things that they can do. It just depends on what you select for your tutor to work on, but students really enjoy working with the academic support team on these types of assignments because it just helps you be confident in submitting them. As always, if you have questions, you're not sure on something, reach out to your SNH2 instructor, okay? You are setting the stage this week for the rest of your project. So whatever scenario you pick, you're sticking with it all term long. So choose wisely, choose one that you could really kind of relate or identify with, and then utilize your own experiences, utilize what you've learned in the class about the different concepts so far, and answer those questions. I always tell students when they're answering those questions, it can be helpful to use examples too that's related to their scenario or from their scenario to help them really drive their point home. So examples can be super helpful. Again, if you're stuck, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. But happy week 2. You're going to be amazing. And just remember, you got this.